This next video is a webinar that we did on creating models and generating auto purchase orders. In this, you're going to learn how to use the Enter Product Models in Wix Enterprise. You'll see how to use the multiple models for SKUs for different times of the year, and then you'll get the steps to generate automatic purchase orders once models are created. If you are a store owner, most generally you'll be at this top level in the right-hand corner, the top level. If you're doing it per store, you can change it to that store number that you're working on. I'm just going to leave it at the top level. First thing that you're going to do, which is the first part of this entering models, is the Inventory tab, Stock Maintenance, and Enter Product Models. This will bring you into the Enter Product Model screen. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look up the first SKU that we're going to create a model on. You can either use the lookup with the magnifying glass icon, or you can type it in and press enter. So I already created a couple models here, but the great thing about this is you can have multiple models per SKU. What models are designed for is if you have certain things that you order all the time, you fill in on them, they're core product that you can constantly order. We can create models for these, and we can set desired levels that we always want to keep on hand for these SKUs. And then once it falls below this model, then we can create an automatic purchase order where it just automatically generates a purchase order for it. It looks at your current on hands, what your models are, and what your on order is. So if you already have it on order, it's not going to create a purchase order for that item. But if you don't have it on order, it'll order what you need and create this purchase order. So it's a great way to keep on top of your product to make sure that you're never out of it. So if you're creating a model for the first time, your first step is to name that model. So you'll see where it says model name to the right of that, and we'll just call this one test. And you have a start date and an end date. So today will be the start date, or you can put a future date for the start date. And you can either leave the end date blank or put an end date so it will end this model on a particular day. Here, since I have a model already July 20th, I'm going to create this model for my first quarter of next year. So I can click on the calendar icon, and I can select the month that I want, and of course the year. We'll use 2011 and January 1st. We'll say that's when that model is going to start. We're going to leave the end date blank, and I'm going to scroll down, and it will have the size grid for this SKU. And now I can put in exactly what I want for the model at the beginning of January. Now we consider the model, and we call that minimum. And then there's also the max quantity. You don't have to create a max quantity, but it is an option. So for the minimum, which is the model, I could have single 8 through 11, one of each. Single 8 through 11 for the D, one of each. So in the B's and the D's, I have one of each. I could then go to the max quantity, and if I wanted to increase that, so here I have for the max 2 of each, and the B's and the D's from 8 through 11. So what happens is if it falls below 2 for the on hand, it will order up to the max quantity. So if I had nothing on hand for an 8B, nothing on order, it would order 2 of them. If I had 1 on hand, but my max is 2, it would order 1 to get it up to the max of 2. So that's how that works. It really helps you if you have hot selling items to really keep these on hand so you're never out of them. Once you've created your model, you can click on Save and Clear or Save and Continue. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save and Clear. So now I have my new model of test that starts January 1st of 2011, along with my other models that I already had created. The other thing down below in that tab is this reorder quantity. What that's used for is if you have things like socks, where say the supplier makes you order 12 at a time, you can put in that reorder quantity. You'll put a model quantity of 12 and then a reorder quantity of 12. That way, if you have 6 on hand and you can't just order 6 since the supplier says you have to order 12. So that's what's designed for. So that way it'll order 12 if needed. So the great thing about this is I can have multiple date-based models for each SKU. So here I have a core that started May 11th, 2010. Here I have a third quarter. So on July 20th through September 30th, it's automatically going to change the model to this third quarter. So if I select it, it's going to bring it up on the screen, and I'm going to see what my third quarter model is. And that's what the system is going to look at. So for this third quarter model, you see I have one of each in the B, D, and EE from 7 to 14. For my model, which is my minimum, and my max, I have 2 of each. I could edit this if I wanted to, and I could save it. And fourth quarter, if I select the fourth quarter one, maybe I have a heavier load that I want to keep on hand for fourth quarter because I sell more of this. I can increase that model for fourth quarter. So as of October 1st through December 31st, it's going to use this model down below. So you see for this model, it now moved the minimum, the model, up to 2 of each, and moved the max up to 4 of each, because that SKU sells a lot quicker in fourth quarter. And you don't have to think about it. It'll just automatically increase those models, or decrease, whichever you prefer. Then on January 1st of 2011, it'll use that new model that we created. If I have a model that I don't want to use anymore, but I still want it to be listed in case I want to use it in the future, I can select it and I can click on Don't Use Models, this checkbox. Then that'll show up on the list still and it'll say No Models. And if I ever want to use that model again, I can pull it up and change it so we use the models. I can modify the grid, do what I want with it, and save it. So that's if I'm at the owner level, and that'll be models for anyone. So if I change this to the store level and say I want to do store 1 specifically, maybe I'm a manager that only works at store 1 and only has access to store 1, but I want to create my own models, I can do so. So I'm going to pull up that same SKU. And it shows all the models that were created at the upper level. I'm not going to see models like for store 2 or store 3, but I'll see models that were created at the store level. And I can pull up one of those models. I can click on load, and notice I can't delete these because they were created at the store level. I can only delete my own models. And since I pulled up that model that was created at the store level, the alert message came up and said saving will create a new model for store 1. It loads it, and then if I want to save it, I can just click on Save and Clear. Another message comes up. You're about to create a new model using the values from store 100, which is the top level. As today, do you want to continue? And I'm going to say yes.